Welcome back, guys. Today I will be sharing my thoughts on the upcoming F-8J Crusader module by Leatherneck Simulations. For those who don't know, the F-8 was the first supersonic fighter to see service with the U.S. Navy. It first flew in 1955, and immediately it earned the nickname the last of the gunfighters for having 4 20mm Mark 12 cannon at a time when other aircraft were being built with a single rotary gun like the M134 minigun for smaller aircraft or the M61A1 Vulcan, if they had one at all. So the F-8 can be considered really an early version of the F-14 Tomcat, which is why I've chosen the background footage that I have with me flying the F-14. The F-8 actually had a lot of similarities to the F-14. They both had moving wings, of course. The F-14 with its variable geometry wings that adapt to the flight regime, but the F-8's wings actually moved up and down. The F-8 had what is known as a variable incidence wing, which meant that the wing would be tilted upward to increase the angle of attack without putting the entire aircraft into a nose-up attitude. And what this did was allow for better pilot visibility during carrier landings and prevented the F-8 from consistently landing on its tail, because that is a really long fuselage. And of course the landing gear were actually very far forward in the fuselage in order to help support the center of gravity better. So landing on its tail would have been a real problem if it weren't for that wing. The F-8 also had a high accident rate, very much like the early F-14s, although it was for a different reason. The F-8 was just kind of hard to control on the flight deck and during carrier landings, unfortunately, which gained it another nickname, Insane Eliminator. While the F-14, of course, had the troublesome TF-30 engines that kept compressor stalling and putting the aircraft into a flat spin that was almost always unrecoverable. Leatherneck Simulations last posted an update on their current projects on June 25th, in which they described the work that they are currently doing with the F-8 module. They've been working on laser scans of the cockpit, and their programmers are busy working with the F-8's APQ-124 radar. As you can see here, the radar has a limited ground mapping capability, in addition to the usual mode for finding airborne targets. So the F-8 will fill a gap that I think is becoming more apparent in DCS with the introduction of the Marianas map. The Marianas, of course, is mostly a water map, which makes for a lot of carrier ops, and there currently isn't a carrier-based aircraft from the 1960s era in DCS. And that just leaves any war scenarios on the Marianas map from that period to the F-5E Tiger and the MiG-19, neither of which are carrier-based, of course. That limits the options available for air bases. As a matter of fact, well, with the Marianas in the current state that it is, we don't have any red air bases by default, because it may or may not in the future include part of China, but it doesn't right now for sure. And that just leaves us with the air bases on Guam and the surrounding islands, all of which are normally held by blue side. So the F-8 will kind of help open up the opportunity to have carrier-based aircraft involved in any war scenario played out on the Mariana Islands map in the 1960s. I think it's a really good fit there, and kind of give the opportunity for things like, say, a red side invasion of Guam or some such scenario. So my conclusion is that the F-8 will be an excellent module that will be welcomed by all DCS pilots who enjoy 1960s era combat scenarios. Leatherneck is really doing a great job, and I'd absolutely pay money for this thing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. thanks for watching.